June 20th, 2021. That sound in the background is a man or a worker across the street that uses a gasoline-powered backpack and blows fine particles of dust and pollen into the local area, as well as the noise pollution, regularly. It's part of this landscaping business, but he's tending to the street at the moment, rather than having alternate side parking and a street sweeper, which is quiet and doesn't kick up nearly as much of the particulate, the air particulate. People who don't have that street sweep option have been opting for a landscaper to keep things neat and tidy. Which again, the visual effects is one thing, but the sound, it is so disruptive. So these are city landscapes. Like, this is what New York City sounds like, in just outside of, like, I don't know, you call it we don't have a subway here. We don't have an underground metro. We have an above-ground track system, which means we're in more of like a suburban night setting or suburban setting. I know that that's important. But as I'm walking, more importantly, Lynn asked me to go up to the post office to drop something off and mail something. For some reason, the mail out, when there are bills and whatever, and there's a check involved, they seem to make it in a donation to these different things at the U.S. postal system. The employees of the postal system seem to take Lynn's mail and money to the correct recipient. It's on the receiving end that there's, I don't know where it goes, where it's collected. I can only fathom why, but it doesn't work in the way that normal post works. So that's that. But as I'm walking up there, I'm thinking of foresight, hindsight. So what I can see in visual spectrum, what I can't see, but there's a sensory organ being my body machina, and it is picking up some form of disposition between the integrity of what my eyes are picking up, and I even have a disruption at times in the gas system in my eyes, and how it's relayed through the Kelvin black hole system through the optic nerve, and then whatever, in however brain wave pattern is formulated. And then what my body, because there is like a camera on a computing machine, there is some stabilization factor in there to like override and trick the brain, it would feel. Because at times when I'm looking and there's moving objects, I can see them moving. Then at times if I'm seated still and I look at it, there's times where there's a disruption in pattern of vibration of the gas and what I'm picking up. At times there's floaters in the back of the eye, which others have in ophthalmology. They've said that floaters can be a thing. I don't have them all the time, but they're just these like black spots, almost like a star constellation in the back of your vision in your hindsight, but looking through the lens I can pick up on, I'm aware that they're there, but it would be almost like having a movie camera and putting a translucent piece of filament with dots drawn on it and then videotaping something. You can see the spots are there. You can see the spots in relation to wherever you're viewing the camera lens. It's that sort of thing. It's not like a imaginary whatever. And the disposition being, since the integrity at times moves in like a frequency based on whatever at ace and Rishus to heliosphere point of orientation in OCD kind of a way, and then an orbital whatever in like a gyroscopy, and trying to keep polarity, and like, I mean, at that point they call, I mean, the humans have taught it to mean gravity, but again, where people are actually able to calculate out velocity and like all sorts of centrifugal outside forces and things, it gets really hairy, like how to, in a and that's what I think poli-science is. Like, I don't know how they became political scientists, and I mean, like in this version of America, in North America, they say they're you have to have a poli-science degree in order to be a politician. That's interesting. So they're taking chemistry, biology, physics, and then Air Force level classes, and space and aeronautics level classes, as well as life sciences, in order to be politicians. I'm just curious, because I have not seen that level of educate actually practicing poli-science in this whatever looks like polygamy field. But yet they call it poli-science. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, because poly usually is indicative of many sciences. But yet, when I went to a poli-science class in a local college, they wanted to give me past campaign information to have arguments and debates in the class. And I'm like, now what kind of form of mockery or trickery is this? I mean, I absolutely despise the professor. She wasn't exactly educated. I mean, she was at the front of the room, but I really didn't find a purpose in that entire class. I didn't learn anything, that's for sure, other than just how disingenuous and how much I disliked her, personally. She kept picking on me as well, which was really weird. So that happened. But as I'm walking, the sensory organ, being the body machina, is picking up on the left side between the articulation. I mean, common speak is the long bone, but in medical speak, it's the femur. Those are the two words. And then the articulation. So it's picking up, when I walk on the left side, it's a sensation of pain within that joint, which is causing, I'm trying not to limp, but it is affecting my orthopedic and my ability to propel myself normally and naturally. Proprioception seems to be all right, although again, when it's dispositioned inside the integratous system, because there's times where it feels integratous, and then there's times where I'm picking up, and it's really, as of late, I'm picking up a more disintegratous, like it's the invisible realm, but again, with the gas in the eye, being at that level of frequency and hertz of cellular, like, integration and interference, I mean, most people would probably need some form of an infrared reading, but it's so pronounced that the gas in the eye actually can see almost like that heat wave in the desert as it comes up and breaks the visual spectrum. And then one can see that at times, different heights of sight, usually like up here, it will move, but not always. So visionary. That's what's picking up at the moment. Between sometimes my eyes look blue, sometimes they look hazel. And I have both blue hazelnut. And that's just what's going on in the locals, it looks like. And that's what sky looks like at the moment. Something happened once with Lou. I don't know what it was. He got hit with something called blue sky. They made it seem like one thing, but I'm having a feeling that there was a lot that went unsaid that they didn't mention. Based on the blue fairy and the mention of one of the locals, and then the Fairy War Chronicles, but spelled differently. And Linda with her, like, this sounds so airy fairy. Which I don't know what that's about. Again, they're just like really silent. I mean, it's like living in a silent movie. Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth. Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, Woman 361.